Welcome back to Sportsman 101. Today I'm going to share with you my first rifle, the Remington Model 8 Autoloading rifle. I'm going to give a little history on it, show you how to operate it, and even tell you why it looks different than our traditional rifles. So this rifle was a Christmas present to me from my great-grandfather when I was 11 years old. Yeah, I'll never forget that Christmas. They had me pull it out of a box with my eyes closed in front of all my extended family. And I was shooting it within 10 minutes. The first deer I took a shot at was with this gun. We were doing a deer drive and I was one of the posters. So just imagine a 12-year-old boy shivering way up in a tree stand, wind howling, and suddenly hearing a deer barreling through the woods like a freight train. I listened to that deer getting closer and closer for about 30 seconds before that 8-pointer ran in front of me. And of course I missed, twice. If he hadn't jumped over a log right as I shot, I might have had him, but it doesn't matter, it's way in the past. But that was the day I was introduced to buck fever and my hunting obsession began. Unfortunately, little did I know that I would not have another shot at a deer for 5 years. Heavy snow and a high number of wolves destroyed the deer population in my area in the mid-90s. This rifle has killed quite literally truckloads of deer, none of them by my hands yet. I do tend to favor my scoped 30-06 for deer hunting, but I do pull this out when we're doing a deer drive, so it'll happen one of these days. So let's start off with a little history on the Model 8. The design for this gun was first developed by John Browning. Yes, that John Browning. He sold the design to Remington, who introduced the gun in 1906 as the Remington Autoloading rifle. They changed the name to Model 8 in 1911. Rifles with this design were also made in Belgium and marketed in other parts of the world, but those sales flopped. That was the FN Model 1900. The FN 1900 was made from 1910 to 1929 with less than 5,000 sold. The Model 8, however, was sold in the US and was a success, with over 80,000 sold. This gun sold in 4 calibers, the 25, 30, 32, and 35. The 32 is the one I'm showing you here today. Remington also produced a police version of this gun which featured high-capacity removable magazines. Remington replaced the Model 8 with an upgraded version, the Model 81 Woodsmaster, in 1936. Now, the first thing that goes through most people's minds when they see a Model 8 is, what is going on with that barrel? The answer, in short, is quite a bit. See, the Model 8 operates on what is called a long recoil system, which means that the recoiled barrel moves back all the way with the bolt. Usually if a gun has this humpback shape on the receiver, it operates on long recoil. While there are several models of shotguns out there that operate on long recoil, the Model 8 is one of the very few rifles that do. But back to this weird looking barrel. See, you're not looking at just a barrel here, so let's take a look inside. You're actually looking at a series of springs that are housed inside a metal jacket. The actual barrel is this small portion right here. So when you pull that trigger, all those springs compress and the entire inner barrel moves all the way back with the bolt. The bolt stays in place while the springs push the barrel back into the forward position. At this point, your spent cartridge is ejected upwards and the bolt moves forwards, reloading your next round. It'll stay open if the gun is empty. That is why it was named the Autoloading rifle. Pretty cool, huh? Now this gun in particular is a standard grade Model 8. There's several different grades, the top few having some really nice etching on the receiver. Standard grade Model 8s did not have checkering on them, though I believe one could order checkering from the factory for an additional $5. The checkering on this gun was done by my grandfather. My great-grandfather purchased this gun from his brother, who had bought it from someone else in the area. When this gun first entered my family, the original factory sights had been replaced with a side-mounted scope. Since the spent casings eject out the top of the rifle, any scope needs to be mounted on the side. That scope was later removed and replaced with this Redfield sight. I honestly don't know if this gun ever had a shoulder strap attached to it, but it doesn't feel like it should have one. I certainly won't be putting a sling on it since I mainly use it for deer drives and the gun has gained an heirloom status. Besides, this guy here doesn't seem to need one, and this guy, well, he really looks like he wishes he didn't have one. Funny story behind this sign though. My dad bought it for me when he got me a Remington bullet knife. He said, "You already have the gun, and now you have the knife." My brother, in his infinite wisdom, chimed in and said, "And that's something you do." So yeah, my superstitious side will never allow a sling to be on this gun. As I mentioned earlier, this gun shoots the 32 Remington cartridges, a bullet that was only used in a few Remington models and has long been discontinued, so ammunition is pretty rare. If you have a rifle in this caliber, your best bet is to reload your own ammo or buy it from Reloader at $60 per box, but online dealers seem to run out of stock pretty quickly. These old bullets I have here are now collector's items. Alright, so let me tell you how to operate this guy. It weighs in at about 8 pounds and has a 22-inch barrel. It's about 41 inches overall. The safety is operated by a lever that's located on the right side of the receiver. When the lever's up, the gun is on safe. The word safe is even stamped on the receiver in case you forget. Now I want to take a second to send out a word of caution here. This is the kind of safety that could easily get flipped to the off position if you're not paying attention. So be careful when you're tromping through the woods so that doesn't get caught on any branches or clothing. In order to open up the action, you'll need to push that safety down so it's off, and then pull back the bolt. Now the fixed box magazine holds 5 cartridges, though I believe if you have the 35 caliber version it only holds 4. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that. To close the action, there's a tiny button on the left side of the receiver to push down on. Once that action is closed, make sure that you put the rifle back on safe. And now you're ready to go. You know, now that I think of it, there's plenty of room in my box stand for my Model 8 and 30-06. So next deer season, I'll bring this guy with me too, and maybe I can get some footage of that for you guys. I just haven't yet because that box overlooks a field. The issue is that at longer ranges, the front sight covers most, if not all, of the target. But the deer I shot this year was close enough, so maybe next year it will be too. So at this point I'm going to wrap this video up. The Model 8 was a big deal back in its day. It was the first semi-automatic rifle to be successfully sold in the US to people like you and me. A real milestone in the firearms industry and a piece of history. So if you found this video to be enjoyable and helpful, please give it a like and share it with your buddies. I'd like to give a huge thank you to all the people that have been subscribing and submitting positive feedback. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.